Discover 3 sinister beach house horror stories that expose terrifying unexplained secrets. The Anderson family thought they found paradise. From their bustling Chicago life, they traded skyscrapers for the roar of the ocean. But as dusk fell over their new beach house, strange symbols glimmered in the fading sunlight, etched into the walls like whispers of forgotten tales. Each symbol pulsed with life, twisting stories of sailors lost to the sea, of shadows lurking beneath the waves. Mark, Sarah, and Lily believed they could start fresh, unaware the house held dark secrets that would choke their hopes. On their first night, the wind howled outside, rattling the windows like a warning. Mark's heart raced, the combative crash of the waves strumming a chord of dread deep within him. "It'll be fine," he muttered, trying to reassure himself more than anyone. But something ghostly lurked just beyond the tranquil facade of their coastal bliss. The next morning, golden sunlight spilled across the kitchen table, illuminating the intricate carvings. Sarah poured her coffee, the steam rising like restless spirits, her laughter ringing hollow against the unknown. But Lily, restless and withdrawn, couldn't shake a prickle of unease crawling down her spine. While her parents savored this new life, she sensed the weight of the town's haunted past. Then came the calls. Late at night, Mark's phone would ring, an unknown number slicing through the silence. Each time he answered, his heart pounded, only to be met with a chilling void of breathless silence that smothered him. He tried to dismiss it, but the haunting nature of those calls burrowed into his mind. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Lily ventured out to meet the neighbors, drawn to the one who always smiled just a bit too wide. Everything about her seemed perfect, but that brightness cast a dark shadow on Lily's instincts. As days melted into nights, Lily found herself drifting deeper into unsettling tales of the town, the folklore wrapping around her like an unforgiving tide. One evening, the beach bonfire crackled under the effortlessly starry sky, laughter mingling with the biting wind. But when Lily stepped away for a moment, she vanished into the oppressive darkness, swallowed whole without a trace. Mark's world shattered. Frantic, he stumbled through the town, the once beautiful seaside oasis dissolving into a nightmare. He confronted the local sheriff, a man whose smile was oddly twisted. There it was again, the murmur of older, haunted stories clawing their way to the surface, the ghosts of those who disappeared before. With every answer Mark received, fear gnawed at his soul. The sheriff's words were as hollow as the unending silence of the waves. Every turn revealed new terrors, conspiracies simmering just beneath the safety of sleepy ocean homes. As Mark stared at a mural depicting the cursed past, dread sank deep into his chest. He felt that invisible thread pull him closer to the abyss, taunting him with the question no one else dared to ask: could he reach Lily before the town claimed another victim? As he dialed the sheriff's number once more, that same ominous chill swept through him. The waves whispered secrets, and somewhere in that storm, Lily's presence lingered, just out of reach. Mark's heart hammered as he stood on the dimly lit street, an oppressive weight pressing down on him. The salty breeze carried with it the faint scent of decay, blending with the tang of the ocean. His mind raced. He had to find Lily. He couldn't let the same dark fate swallow his little girl. With trembling hands, he punched in the sheriff's number again. Each ringing tone felt like an eternity, echoing his growing desperation. Come on. He whispered, praying for any sign of hope. When the sheriff finally picked up, his voice was oily, dripping with an unsettling calm. Mark. You're still looking for her? Of course. What have you found? A pause stretched long enough for Mark to hear the distant crashing waves. Some whispers, perhaps, but you should be careful. This town has a way of swallowing those who ask too many questions. Each word hung heavy in the air, twisting Mark's stomach. "What do you mean?" The urgency in his voice cracked. Without answering directly, the sheriff continued, "There are things better left unspoken, things that will come for you, for her, for your entire family." Before Mark could respond, the line went dead. Silence enveloped him, echoing the void in his heart. As if on cue, the wind picked up, howling like a banshee, rattling the windows of nearby houses. He felt a dark cloud settle over him, the air thick with an unsettling promise of dread that he turned and saw it a flicker of movement down the street. A figure, slender and cloaked, darted behind one of the beach houses. Mark's instincts kicked in, he sprinted forward, pushing through the tangled weeds and thick shadows. "Lily! Lily!" he yelled, desperate, each syllable cutting through the gloom. The figure hesitated, glancing back at him. Mark's heart leaped. "Lily!" But instead of a response, an eerie giggle echoed through the night, chilling him to the bone. He tore around the corner, pursuing the sound, but found no trace of her, only the symbols etched into the weathered wood of the beach house, glowing faintly under the moonlight. He stopped, the symbols casting grotesque shadows that twisted like writhing figures. Panicking, he stepped back, trying to clear his mind. The town loved to play tricks, but he clung to hope. As he turned away from the house, the ocean roared mercilessly, a monster awakening beneath the waves. In that moment, he sensed he was not alone. A feeling of being watched prickled at the back of his neck. "Is anyone there?" he called out, voice shaky. No response, then, suddenly, a soft voice broke through the chaos. "Daddy?" His heart soared. "Lily!" He spun around, scanning for her. The shadows danced, but she remained hidden. "Daddy, help me!" Her voice, muffled and fading, sent fresh ice coursing through him. "Where are you?" he shouted, panic snapping his composure. The unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed, not just from the direction of her voice, but from everywhere. The sound climbed, resonating with chilling unity, like the town itself was alive, hungry, and closing in around him. "I'm coming!" he shouted, driven by sheer terror. He pushed through the darkness towards her voice, each step sinking deeper into unease. In that moment, a horrendous realization struck him: what if she wasn't just lost, but part of the town's sinister spell? The wind howled louder, the ocean's roar became a cacophony, and then another laugh. Different this time. It pierced the night like a knife. The laughter wasn't just haunting, it was mocking. As Mark closed his eyes, consumed by dread, the whispered promise of the unknown crept into his soul. What was lurking behind that laughter? And would he be able to face it before it claimed not just Lily, but everything he held dear? Mark plunged deeper into the darkness, his heart racing as he pushed through the suffocating shadows. Every sound seemed amplified, every whisper of the wind like a fiend scoffing at his desperation. The laughter echoed again, laced with venomous delight. "Lily!" His voice fractured as it pierced through the thickening night. Desperation clawed at him, yet a sinking instinct warned him that calling out might draw something worse than oblivion. He hesitated, then steadied himself for another search. The air felt thicker now, charged with something electric and sinister, as if the town itself was holding its breath. Mark stumbled over uneven ground, his eyes darting through the half-light, straining for a glimpse of a familiar figure. The beach houses loomed around him, their windows like dark eyes, watching, measuring his resolve. He could swear he saw movement again, a shape flitting from one house to another. A heartbeat of hope surged through him as he followed. Maybe it was her. Maybe it was Lily. With each step closer, he could hear her voice again, faint and trembling. "Daddy, please no." He wouldn't let fear win. He gritted his teeth, pushing through overgrown grass and twisted roots. As he reached the next house, the giggle came again. And this time, it felt dangerously close. The shadows seemed to shift, coiling around his ankles like serpents. The house was old, its boards creaking under the weight of secrets, but he was drawn to it. The front door hung ajar, beckoning him in. Ignoring the instinct to turn back, he stepped inside, taking stock of his surroundings. Darkened rooms spilled into one another, shrouded in shadows. "Lily!" he called again, stepping cautiously across the threshold. A chill crawled up his spine, and he could almost hear the blood pulsing in his ears. Something else lurked in the silence, the anticipation of the unseen. The floorboards groaned beneath him, reverberating with his fear. Every careful movement seemed to provoke the house, inviting a lament from the walls. Images danced at the edges of his mind, memories of the happiest moments with Lily intertwined with the malignance hanging like a pall. He shook his head as if that could clear his thoughts, but every sound within this hollow shell echoed back menacingly. Mark moved deeper into the home, his resolve faltering with each step. Shadows enveloped him, more substantial now, like hands ready to pull him under. In a small room off to the side, he saw her toys, scattered across the floor, the teddy bear she refused to sleep without, positioned upright, staring back at him with empty eyes. "Lily!" he belted out, the syllables cracking like thunder, his breath heavy and labored. From the darkness, the laughter erupted again, louder and more malevolent than before, wrapping around him like a noose. "Daddy's lost." Then came a soft whimper, blending with the echoes. "Help me!" The sound was unmistakably her voice, yet it came from the direction of the basement door, slightly ajar. An instinct screamed at him to flee, to save himself from whatever waited below. But he couldn't. He wouldn't. He let her down, his hand trembled against the metal knob, and he opened the door, heart racing as he stepped into the abyss below. The darkness swallowed him whole, the stench of brine and mold curling around him like a tightening grip. As he descended, a flicker of light danced at the foot of the stairs. "Daddy, I'm scared," another voice whispered, chilling him to the marrow. It wasn't just one voice, but many, a harmonious wail of lost innocence. Mark froze, adrenaline coursing through him. Was it Lily? What did they want? He stood at the threshold, the light illuminating the space ahead, a dim glow that revealed something far worse than he ever imagined. He felt bile rise in his throat, a sharp breath stuck in his chest. And just then, a figure emerged from the shadows, a wilted smile stretching across a ghastly face. "Welcome home." What was it? What game was the town playing now? Mark's stomach twisted painfully as the laughter crescendoed around him. Was this the end of the search, or merely the beginning of a far darker path? The answer loomed over him like a dark storm cloud, ready to break. Mark's breath caught in his throat. The figure before him, its sunken eyes gleaming, stretched out a hand as if inviting him to come closer. "We've been waiting for you," it rasped, the words dripping like poison. His instincts screamed, urging him to turn and flee. But chained by fear and the hope that it might somehow lead him to Lily, he stood paralyzed, every heartbeat thickening the air around him. "Come!" it beckoned, the violet glow illuminating what lay beyond. And as the shadows shifted, the sound of soft cries morphed into a cacophony of terror, the wails of children, mingling with laughter that felt more like a curse than any joy. "Lily!" he shouted again, desperation fueling his voice. The creature tilted its head, confusion swimming in its hollow gaze before perfectly formed lips split into a grin. "You don't want her, not really. What if she doesn't want you?" The implications of those words crashed down on him like a tidal wave. A dark knot twisted in his gut as he considered the possibility. The laughter intensified, echoing in the room like a chant, a dreadful rhythm that matched the growing thrumming in his ears. The light flickered, revealing more of the basement as horrifying interior. Jagged shadows danced against the walls, illuminating remnants of a dark history. A cracked doll lay discarded, its head lolling unnaturally to one side, as if it had seen too much. Old newspapers littered the ground, yellowed with age, the headlines screaming of tragedies, losses, people who had simply vanished. Mark's heart sank. This house hadn't just been a home. It was a trap, a graveyard for lost souls, preying on those who dared to seek out the light. "Daddy, please," a voice threaded through the chaos, clear and precious, but layered with an unnatural dread. "Help me." It was her voice, the same timbre he adored, yet now twisted with an unrecognizable fear. His heart raced, drowning out the noise, as he stepped forward, driven by the desperate need to save her. In that moment, the figure lunged forward, fingers curling like claws. Don't you understand? It's too late. It reached for him, and he barely sidestepped, a primal instinct for survival urging him onward. The laughter became an uproar, taunting, almost triumphant. Lily! He cried, his voice cracking through the sinister rapture that enveloped him. He caught a glimpse of light flooding from an inner room, a cellar door at the back, slightly ajar. It beckoned like a siren's song, and Mark dashed toward it, thoughts of Lily blazing like an inferno in his mind. As he pushed open the door, the air felt like ice against his face. The glow revealed a cramped space filled with old, rusted tools, cobwebs hanging like curtains. And at the center of the room, a figure curled up against the wall, only half seen in the shadows. Daddy, it was Lily, her face streaked with tears, eyes wide and pleading. Relief washed over him, his heart soaring. Lily! He reached for her, but before he could touch her, the light flickered again, plunging him into darkness. When it returned, she was gone. The basement shifted, walls closing in, the laughter erupting once more, filling the tight space. You shouldn't have come back. A voice shrieked, layering over everything he had heard, a trident of chaos piercing through his psyche. Mark felt the ground tremble beneath him. What do you want? He gasped, dread paralyzing his every thought. Her, they chorused, a terrifying symphony echoing through the hollow basement. But you'll pay. Everyone pays. As he clawed at the fading light, he felt hands grasp at him, too many to count, pulling him backward, deeper into the shadows. Suddenly, he was thrust into a moment of clarity. Something fundamental snapped in him. I want to let you take her. He bellowed, fueled by strength born of desperation, but the creature's grin widened. Too late. Come, Mark. It's time to belong. And with that, the shadows lunged for him, the exquisite horror of acceptance holding him fast. As he fought against the tide, he realized with stark terror, could he save Lily, or was he destined to join these wretched souls? Was there still a way out, or was he too far gone, trapped in a game that only tightened its grip? Would he accept this monstrous fate? The laughter crescendoed, drowning his resolve as he was pulled deeper into despair, a cold void swallowing him whole. Mark's senses snapped back on, sharp and electric. It was a momentary flicker before the suffocating darkness enveloped him again, a black shroud loaded with malevolence. He gasped for breath, his heart pounding in sync with the taunting laughter that echoed around him. Where are you? He managed to croak as his voice trembled. Still waiting, the creature hissed, the echo warping, vibrating with an unsettling glee. You didn't listen. You're already ours. With trembling hands, Mark fought against the grasping tendrils that clawed at him, pulling him closer to the abyss. Panic surged through his veins, hot and corrosive. He had to break free. He had to find Lily. Lily! He screamed, the sound ricocheting off the walls, desperate and raw. The laughter scaled up, mocking him, a cacophony peppered with distorted voices. They harmonized. The children played like tiny demons, singing his demise. Come and play. The shadows crawled closer, a mass of writhing darkness that fuzzed his vision. Flashes of memories flickered. Lily smiling, her laughter echoing like music in his mind. He clung to those memories, letting them fortify his frail courage. He couldn't let her down. Not again. Gathering every bit of his strength, he pushed forward, his feet stumbling as he navigated the shifting ground, every step met with resistance, as if the very core of the house conspired against him. His instincts screamed betrayal. The room he had fought to reach felt suddenly alive, breathing, shifting. Then, a light, warmer this time, flickered on at the corner of his vision, illuminating fragments of horror, a child's shoe, a shattered picture frame with a twisted smile facing him, and the walls shivered with whispered accusations. You let her come. In the corner of the room, where darkness feasted luxuriously, a glimmer caught his eye. It was a rusty key, an old-fashioned skeleton key that felt oddly out of place among the decay. Take it, a whisper slithered through the air, lacing his resolve with dread. Unlock the truth. He lunged for it, scrabbling on the ground, forcing his fingers around the cold metal. As he lifted it, a surge of energy flooded through him, igniting a flicker of hope. "Where is she?" he demanded, turning to face the darkness. "I won't stop until I find her." The creature's eyes glinted, with a feral hunger, and the laughter shimmered ominously. "You've unlocked something indeed. But can you handle what comes next?" With a sudden release, the shadows receded, revealing a door at the far wall, shrouded in a haze of violet light. The door whispered secrets of the past, promises wrapped in despair. What lay beyond? Was it the truth about the house? Or another trap, ready to ensnare him? "Open it. We know you're curious." Mark's heart thundered, the key trembling in his hand. He took a step toward the door, every instinct in his body fighting the pull of his curiosity. This was the moment he could either plunge deeper into the unknown or walk away with Lily's memory intact, but he had nothing left to lose. As he hesitated, the shadows conspired once more, a tightening grip drawing nearer to him. "Lily!" he shouted, defiance seeping into the crack of terror that filled the room. "I'll come for you." He thrust the key into the door, twisting it with a shaky hand. A violent shudder coursed through the ground, and the door creaked open slowly, revealing a blinding light and a glimpse of something monstrous lurking just beyond. What would he unleash by stepping through that threshold? And would Lily be waiting, or was this house ready to swallow him whole? Mark stepped through the threshold, heart hammering in his chest, the light surrounding him fierce and blinding like a spotlight on his darkest fears. He squinted, straining to see through the luminescence, but shadows twisted like serpents, coiling and hissing just at the edges of clarity. Then silence. All at once, the cacophony of laughter faded. The mocking voices of the children vanished like smoke. Mark felt as if he had stepped into a void. No warmth, no comfort, just an overwhelming sense of dread closing in. The light pulsated, revealing a room draped in sheets silvery as cobwebs. Old furniture stood stiff in the corners, covered in dust and secrets. Faded photographs hung crooked on the walls, their subjects' eyes follow him, glinting with a knowing malice. It was a room that felt too alive, too aware of him. "I'm going to find her," he breathed, his voice a fragile echo, his resolve flickering like the weak light around him. As he moved deeper into the room, the air thickened, nearly suffocating him. The heavy aroma of mildew churned in his nostrils, bringing back fragments of memories he wished were buried. Faces appeared within the dust, creeping closer, whispering as if the very house was haunting him with the past he could not escape. Suddenly, the floor beneath him shuddered, a low rumble reverberating through the walls. Mark stumbled, catching himself against the wooden frame of an old mirror, cracked and fogged. He looked into it, his reflection distorted and blurred, but something shifted behind him. Something wrong until reality tore apart. The reflection morphed, showing a dilapidated version of the room, but then the figures of children, their faces twisted with malice as they lunged toward him, mouths stretching in impossibly wide grins. He spun around, breath hitching, but the room remained empty, the silence heavier, as if the house was holding its breath. "Lily!" he called out. "If you're here, please answer me." The shadows trembled, mocking him anew, as if the very air enjoyed his terror. He took a step back, feeling the razor-edged shards of the broken mirror prick at his skin. Something flickered in the corner of his eye again. A door, slightly ajar, whispering promises he dared not trust. Mark approached it cautiously, curiosity battling with fear. Each step felt like he was wading through sludge, the weight of dread heavy on his shoulders. He reached out and felt the cool brass knob chill his fingertips, sending spikes of ice down his spine. Something inside protested. "This is a mistake," a small voice in his head urged, but he ignored it. He twisted the knob and pushed the door open. A chill swept over him, carrying the scent of salt and decay. The new room was dark, almost suffocatingly so, but glimpses of moonlight filtered in, illuminating the outlines of boxes and old trunks piled high, as if holding graveyards of memories and forgotten lives. And that's when he heard it, the faintest echo of laughter, soft and distant, almost like a lullaby. A voice calling his name, a familiar voice. Mark. Lily. He shouted, adrenaline surging. The shadows around him stirred, thick, pulsing with anticipation. But the laughter churned, turning menacing and wild, as the shadows shifted again, pulling him toward the depths of the room with unseen hands. Breaking free, panic flooded his veins. What if she was trapped here? He fought the darkness clutching at him, moving toward the laughter echoing from beyond, yet, something lurked at the back of his mind, whispering warnings and filling him with dread. As Mark plunged deeper into the gloom, chasing the voice that called him, he glanced back. What awaited him in that darkness? Was it Lily he sought, or the twisted puppet strings of the house that played a game far beyond his understanding? He pressed on, heart racing, knowing he might just be stepping into a trap laid with unseen horrors. But would he uncover the truth about Lily, or would he lose himself forever in the house's insatiable hunger? Mark pushed through the darkness, convinced he was getting closer. The laughter rang again, echoing off the walls like a twisted melody. It danced with an intoxicating lure, each note pulling at his heart while simultaneously clawing at his sanity. Lily! He shouted, desperation thickening his voice. No answer, just the laughter continuing its macabre serenade. The air grew colder, each breath a cloud of vapor glimpsing the moonlight. Shadows stretched like thin fingers, grasping at him, urging him back toward the empty room he had narrowly escaped. But his legs moved against the pull, driven by a hope that flickered dimly behind layers of dread. He took another step, heart pounding, feeling the ground shift beneath him. The floorboards creaked ominously, their groans echoing his fears. Boxes loomed in the corners, suffocated by years of dust, their contents whispering of things long forgotten. Mark needed to reach the source of the voice, needed it like air, though reason warned him it lay beneath his very toes. Please, Lily. He called again, but the laughter morphed into high-pitched cackles, swirling around him like a storm. Each chuckle felt like icy fingers tracing down his spine, then came a change in the air, a disturbance, as if the space itself shuddered. Mark turned sharply. From the darkest corner of the room, a figure emerged, shadowed but unmistakably small. A child, hair dark and wild, clothes ragged. His heart plunged. Lily? The figure paused, tilting its head, eyes glistening in the loopholes of the moonlight. But beneath that gaze was an uncanny stillness. It was not Lily. No, it can't be. With a haunting grin, the child stepped closer, and Mark realized this was not a reunion, this was a trap. The face melted into something grotesque, twisted and inhuman, the laughter crashing into a frenzy of shrill screams. Mark recoiled, stepping into a box behind him. It toppled over, spilling contents that scattered like shiny stars, jewelry, toys, broken glass. Each item whispered secrets of lives lost. He stumbled, feeling the edge of madness encroaching. Panic surged like a tidal wave. Get away from me! He shouted, but even as the words left his mouth, the shadows tightened, wrapping around him. The child morphed into multiple figures, all wearing grotesque smiles as they closed in. Join us, Mark. Join us, they sang, voices hollow and echoing, ensnaring him within the melody of despair. He swiped at the darkness, desperate to break free from their grip. A sudden, blinding light burst forth, illuminating the figures. Their faces exposed in the harsh glare, revealed not children but tortured beings caught in a cycle of suffering, their eyes void of compassion, reflecting only pain. Mark gasped, breathless, confusion swirling through his mind. Who were they? Was this what Lily had become? Or were they simply the remnants of a broken past that this house fed upon? With a roar of defiance, he turned, plunging out of the chaotic circle. I'm not yours! He shouted, fighting against the horror pressing in. He sprinted toward the far wall where the light beckoned like a lighthouse to a ship lost at sea. But the ground buckled beneath him again. He fell, twisting over himself, fear amplifying every heartbeat. The laughter crescendoed, drumming against his ears as he forced himself up. There was the door and exit gleaming like hope. Mark flung himself toward it, feeling the cold breath of the powerful darkness pulsate behind him, wanting to drag him back into its depths. His hand seized the door, and with one final push, he burst through, collapsing onto the weathered porch outside. But as he gasped in the night air, reality hit him like a fist. The house stood silent behind him, the darkened windows watching him, waiting. What if escaping wasn't enough? What if Lily was still trapped within those walls, bound by the very horror that had tried to claim him? And as Mark turned back toward the house, a low whisper slithered through the air, echoing the questions that coiled in his mind. You can't leave her. Mark's heart pounded like a war drum as the whisper curled around him. You can't leave her. It burrowed deep, rooting itself in every ounce of his resolve. He took a step back toward the house, dread creeping up his spine like the chill in the air. The moon hung low, casting a silver sheen over the empty yard, but he could feel the darkness, thick and suffocating, clawing at the edges of his vision. Something inside him twisted, urging him to run. Yet another part, a desperate pulse of hope, propelled him forward. Lily, he murmured. He moved toward the front door, which creaked open just enough, a mocking invitation to re-enter the abyss. A part of him screamed to flee, but the thought of Lily alone, the mere image of her terrified face, pushed him to cross the threshold once more. Inside, the air was acrid, laced with memories that clawed at his senses. He stepped carefully through the dust-laden room, the laughter now eerily absent. Instead, a heavy silence descended, thickening the air, wrapping him tighter than the shadows. Goosebumps danced on his skin as he called her name. Lily, are you here? Every footfall echoed like a drum in the stillness, equally a signal for Lily and a siren to the unseen. As he ventured deeper, the familiar chill returned, mingling with an oppressive dread that clawed at his sanity. The walls felt alive, throbbing with dark energy, whispering secrets that compelled him to turn back. Just then, a faint rustle drew his attention. He swung around, eyes wide, pulse racing. Lily! He cried, voice cracking. His only answer was a distant thud, reverberating throughout the house. That eerie laughter began again, but this time it was softer, more sinister. It echoed like a memory of a child's delight, twisted in the throes of darkness. Mark surged forward, held hostage by fear and determination. He navigated the narrow hallways, each step feeling heavier, like the house was trying to swallow him whole. A door at the end caught his eye, dim light spilling out beneath it. Lily! He shouted, mustering every ounce of courage left. That he flung the door open. The room was empty, yet cold, a presence unmistakably imminent. Dust particles danced in the light, floating aimlessly like lost souls. The walls were lined with old photos, each family image distorting as he looked closer. They weren't just pictures, they appeared to mock him, faces twisted in joy that belied something far darker beneath. Then the door slammed shut behind him, as if the house itself exhaled in satisfaction. Panic surged through him. He whipped around, heart racing. Let me out! He screamed, pushing against the door, but it held firm. The laughter built around him, swelling like a storm, enveloping him in chaos. Mark turned to the walls, desperate for a clue, a way out. There, scrawled in what looked like dried blood, were words that sent him reeling. Your soul is lost, but hers may yet be saved. Hope ignited, flickering against the suffocating dread. I'll save you, Lily! He declared, steeling his resolve. Through the madness, a figure emerged, the one he had seen before. The ghastly child, now a twisted silhouette in the shadowed corner. You can't save her, Mark, the child cooed, voice dripping with malevolence. She belongs to us now. The shadows rippled as more figures emerged, each contorted and smirking, eyes gleaming with anguish. Mark felt himself cornered, with no escape in sight. Suddenly, the floor began to tremble, cracks spreading like dark veins beneath his feet. He sensed the house was alive, hungry, ready to consume him and Lily together. Stay away! He shrieked, lunging toward the exit, but the laughter crescendoed into maddening chaos. He had to push through, he had to find her. With sheer force, he plunged through the morass of shadows, fueled by the faint whisper of hope. but what if it was something darker waiting to snare his heart in the end? Would he find Lily, or would he become yet another lost soul, another echo in the house that would never let them go? The floor buckled again, and he felt himself slipping. He reached out, grasping for anything to hold on to, but everything faded into darkness once more. Darkness stretched around Mark, a heavy cloak smothering him, pulling him into an abyss. His breath came in ragged gasps as he fought against it, thrusting his hands into nothingness, seeking a grip, anything to anchor him. The laughter faded, replaced by an unsettling silence that hummed in his ears, a deceptive calm before a storm. Then he landed hard on a cold surface, the impact jarring him awake. Mark blinked against the darkness, trying to collect his scattered thoughts. Where was he? No light, no hint of warmth, the air was stale, tasting of mold and forgotten memories. He pulled himself up, every nerve tingling with dread. The moment he stood, he felt it, an electric pulse beneath his feet, like the heartbeat of the house, thrumming ominously. Shadows danced at the periphery of his vision, flickering in time with the pounding pulse. Fear coiled dreadfully in his gut as he took a cautious step forward. "Lily!" he called, his voice echoing like a ghost in the empty chamber. Nothing answered, only that lingering silence, crawling under his skin. He forced himself to move, each footfall swallowing courage, inching deeper into the void. As he advanced, a thin line of light broke through the darkness up ahead, drawing him in like a moth to a flame. But with every step closer, an all-consuming dread gnawed at him, whispering doubts. What if she was gone? What if he couldn't save her? The light grew brighter, revealing warped figures in frames lining the walls, faces twisted in grotesque laughter, eyes wide with frozen horror. They stared at him, inviting yet forbidding. The closer he got, the more he could feel their stories, woven into the fabric of the shadows. Almost hypnotized, he reached for one dull bronze frame. The moment his fingers brushed the glass, a jolt shot through him, like static electricity. The image shifted, swirling to reveal a different family, more visceral and desperate. Their collective terror struck him blank. "What is this place?" he whispered, feeling the weight of untold suffering press upon his chest that he staggered back, heart racing. "Lily! I'm coming!" But his voice trembled with uncertainty. A shiver raced through him as the laughter returned, echoes of the past twisting like the shadows around him. He was losing grip on reality, spiraling deeper into nightmares. Panic surged as the floor vibrated beneath his feet, opening again, a gaping chasm threatening to swallow him whole. Desperate and fueled by instinct, he leapt to one side, narrowly escaping the maw of darkness that gaped hungrily at his heels. Landing hard, he glanced over his shoulder. The darkness swirled, sinister and alive, inching toward him as if sensing his every move. He stumbled forward, now even more frantic. "Lily!" Frustration morphed into terror as he tore down the corridor, searching for the source of that flicker of hope. He emerged into another room, but this one whispered of dread. It was a nursery, filled with dusty toys and remnants of a child's laughter, long since extinguished. In the corner, a small crib loomed ominously empty, the sheets stained with what looked like shadows. The air felt thick, charged with something he could not see. Then he heard it, a soft whimper, barely audible but enough to electrify his resolve. "Lily!" he gasped, eyes scanning the dim corners. But the whimper turned into a soft growl, reverberating in the walls. "You're too late," a voice crooned, poisonous with sweetness. He pivoted, feeling dread overshadow even his last threads of hope. That same ghastly child stepped into view, now more defined, with a wicked grin spreading across its pale face. "She's ours forever." Mark recoiled, heart pounding wildly. No. This can't be happening. The ground trembled again, shadows converging on him like a storm. The laughter grew shrill, drowning out reason. Just as he felt himself retreating into the dark, a fleeting image flickered, a vision of Lily, trapped, eyes wide with terror. "Mark, save me!" The cry shattered everything. He hurled himself through the swirling shadows, each step precarious yet purposeful. "I won. Let you take her." He yelled, drawing whatever strength remained, but would he reach her in time, or was he already too late to change their fates? Mark pushed past the haunting child, feeling every sorrowful whisper of the darkness swarming around him. I will find her. His voice cut through the suffocating fear, a promise born out of sheer desperation. The nursery door swung open. He stumbled into an adjoining room, now desperate eyes searching for a flicker of hope amid the oppressive shadows. The scent of rotting wood and mildew filled his lungs, but he kept pressing on. Lily! Where are you? He cried, adrenaline firing every neuron in his body. An echo answered him, a faint voice calling his name. Daddy! It wavered, full of emotion, yet twisted in a way that sent a chill down his spine. Mark's heart surged as dread and hope clashed painfully within him. He pressed onward, each step heavy with the weight of memories he wished to unearth. The sound led him to a cracked door at the end of another dim hallway. He didn't hesitate. With all the strength left in his weary body, he ripped it open and stepped through. Inside, the regrets of the house unraveled before him, illuminated by the ghostly light filtering through a cracked window. And there, in the corner, curled up and alone, was Lily. His eyes widened. Lily! He rushed to her, but before he could reach her, a shadow flickered between them. It blocked his path, smirking with that knowing malevolence. See? I told you. She belongs to us now. The sinister grin widened, the whispers intensifying. Mark felt the air thicken, a tangible force holding him back, but he would not give in. No! He shouted, forcing his way forward. Yes, my daughter. Then come take her, the shadow taunted, eyes glimmering with dark delight. If you dare! Mark surged forward, fueled by fatherly love. The darkness swirled and lashed against him, trying to pry him away. He pushed through, heart racing, kneeling beside Lily, whose tear-streaked face brought clarity to his tumultuous thoughts. He gathered her in his arms, relief washing over him as he felt her warmth against him. Daddy, it's so scary here, she whimpered, her small hands trembling. I know, sweetie. I'm here now. We're leaving, he whispered fiercely, his grip reassuring. Mark stood up, determination blazing. The ominous presence loomed, laughter echoing with malice around him. You can't escape it, hissed, shadows reaching hungrily for both of them. But he would not break. Holding Lily tightly, he stepped into the light filtering through the room. We will escape. He pushed through, feeling the last threads of darkness snap under the intensity of his will. The shadows shrieked, rage spilling into the room, but Mark escaped into the light beyond, bursting through the porch door into the open air. Together, they stumbled out into the cool night, the moon casting a protective glow over them. They collapsed onto the weathered porch, breathing in the salty air that now felt like freedom, but as they glanced back at the house, its windows flickered darkly, still ominously alive. They had escaped, but Mark knew the nightmare was not entirely over. The town had a hold over that place, a tether born from centuries of suffering, lingering like a dark shadow. It's over now, he whispered to Lily, brushing the sweat from her brow. He held her face in his hands, searching her eyes to reassure himself she was still there, still safe. We're safe. And then he felt it, a tremor beneath them, a pulse of the house, the town, as if it too had awoken from a slumber, seething with anger and hunger. Mark stood protectively before Lily, fear creeping back in. They might have escaped, but at what cost? He hugged her close, letting the gentle sea wind wrap around them, and he made a promise in that moment: they would leave this place behind, the town's secrets buried along with its hunger. He would shield her from its reach, no matter what. Together, they would forge a new path, free from the horrors that threatened to consume them. As they walked away, the whispers faded, but in their hearts, they both understood darkness was never far behind, and so, the Andersons vanished into the night, leaving behind a home cloaked in the memories of those who once lived within its walls. Mark knew they could never truly forget, but they had escaped the grasp of those haunting shadows. Lily, he said softly, voice steady. No matter what happens, I will always fight for you. Later that evening, as they drove away, the beach house glimmered in the rearview mirror, a dark silhouette against the starry sky, a bittersweet reminder of battles won and lost, a fading nightmare that would never truly release its grip. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Trust me, you need to subscribe now. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm, it makes a difference more than you can imagine. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. I want to hear what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. It's time they experience this gripping tale too.